Hmm. Oh my God. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Welcome to Just a Flower podcast. And I am Mario Velez. I'm comfy here. I hope you are too. Just a flower, being and breathing. Episode 3 is here. This is the one. This is the third one. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper still into what it means to be, to breathe, to put down the mind, to transform yourself from a hard rock into water and flow straight by every obstacle, every hard place that you find yourself wedged inside of. This kind of stuff makes you feel miraculous, even though outside of you and from every other perspective out there, people just find it very normal and hokey and cheesy. And I'm not going to apologize for being corny, happy, smiley, or full of bliss. Why would I? When you take this as seriously as you should, at least as seriously as I think you should, you'll start to notice a bunch of things changing. But the first thing that I pointed out in episode 2, link up in the corner, is that you'll notice your thoughts a lot more. In fact, you might even think, man, this is actually harder than it was before when I wasn't trying to take my breathing so seriously. Why would I keep doing this? I mean, there's so many thoughts. It's so annoying. It's so hard to sit still and just breathe. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't done it a lot, it is going to be really tough. And I'm going to repeat myself a lot because this is the key. This is the only thing you really need, is to just breathe. And I know I'm even annoyed with myself. I have to say it so much, right? But that's kind of it. That's kind of the only trick there really is in order to start becoming your highest self, your truest self, your most excellent version of you, the best version of you, the dreamlike you, the stuff that you think can't be possible, the things that you think and blame everything around you and everything outside of you for holding you back from becoming. I mean, before I really took this seriously, before I started diving in, I blamed my finances. I blamed my lack of stability. I blamed the lack of a stable career. And I wasn't not trying. I wasn't not applying. I can get a job almost anywhere with one conversation. In fact, at one point, I just had a conversation with an IT guy, and he was like, I like you so much. Let me give you a job. And for some reason, for the timing, because of the management and things like that, they were cutting corners. They were changing to third party. I couldn't keep a job for like a year, for many, many years. And I thought that was a good enough reason to just be grumpy and a curmudgeon, you know. But nothing has changed significantly on the outside for me. 3 months ago, all I did was get a call from a group that I'd forgotten that I belonged to. They reminded me that I should just breathe, and I did, and I breathed a lot, and I breathed deeply, and I'm breathing now, and now I do it twice a day. I just dedicate a good 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes 18, because I'm fine already. I hit that peak bliss just a little bit sooner, and I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop. I had stopped streaming at one point because, well, there's too much noise outside. I don't care anymore. I don't care because that's just me letting my thoughts irritate me and hold me back from doing something that makes me fucking alive, man. I'm alive more now. Why would I apologize for anything like that? Why would you apologize for that, right? And then you're gonna hit yourself over the head with a bunch of judgment as you start hearing someone like me, whoever it is out there who you're listening to, who's inspiring you to breathe a little bit more with intention, and you're going to feel your own thoughts thinking about themselves. You're going to feel your brain mentally judge all of the things that you're thinking because you associate that inner monologue with yourself. I know I'm diving real quick into this, but I've got to cover the last episode before we move on, before we hear the first poem, before we do anything else. I do not want to let you guys just trip on yourselves and then say, "Oh, why'd I trip? Oh, I'm so terrible. I'm so stupid. Jesus, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this." I know, okay? I did that a lot when I was starting out, and I started like 13 years ago. I've said this before. I started 13 years ago, and I just beat myself up over everything a lot because I told myself this isn't hard. This should be easy. This should be instantaneous. Come on, you got to give yourself a break. You got to be gentle with yourself. What's the name of the podcast? Are we just rocks? We're just a flower. Be gentle with yourself, okay? We've been through a lot of storms, and it takes quite a bit of turbulence sometimes to wake people up. I don't know if you guys remember the temple story that I had told. I'll leave a link to a short, if anything. But a lot of things changed after COVID. A lot of things should have changed after school shootings, but we'll talk about that some other day. A lot of things changed after COVID. In fact, people were a lot safer because a lot of kids weren't going to school. But this uneasiness and this disrespect of the self, this disrespect of our inner liveliness, our need, our absolute need to take time for ourselves, not to watch a TV show, not to play games, not to entertain ourselves, because again, that's just more mental verbiage. It's more mentality. It's more internal thought processes. It's more internalizing new memories. It's more doing. You got to take any amount of time you can and just breathe. And I know I sound like desperate trying to get you guys to do this, but you're going to realize very soon after trying it, after really putting some effort into just being yourself, just being, how desperate your mind has been for you to drop it. It thinks that it's doing a great job. It tells itself, "Oh, this is exactly what we need to do." But no, this isn't what we should do. And it's just constantly going and going and going and going. And I'm telling you, man, you don't need that crap. You don't need to constantly run. It's like eating all the time. If you eat way too much all the time, you're going to end up tiring out the digestive system. You're going to end up tiring out your body. That's why people get lethargic, and it doesn't matter what you're eating. You're going to get tired. But if you drop that habit of thinking, if you stop gorging on thoughts, you're going to find so much more time in your day. You're going to find it so much easier to get to a place where you're not agitated. You may even have debilitating processes going on, things that really do need medical attention or psychiatric help, which I'm not a professional of. I'm not a PhD in anything. Okay. I just found this trick worked for me really well at a really young age. And even doubted it because a lot of people around me weren't as hyped up about it as I was, or it just didn't work the way that it worked for some people, or one person needed walking meditation and I was gabbing on about just sitting down and breathing and shutting up your mind. And I've made a few of those tiny little errors, but overall, even after years of trying to push myself out of whatever you want to call this, mysticism, self-empowerment, reaching your higher self, the awakening of your inner beauty, whatever you want to call it, okay? I didn't stay true to who I really am, and who I really am is happy, comfy, joyous, blissful, and engaged in the miracle of all of this stuff. It's insane. I love how dreamlike this world is, but it's so hard to notice that kind of stuff when all you're doing is thinking. So that's the message that I'm trying to come in and fulfill for as many people as humanly possible. We just need to breathe. That's it. And now let's start doing this. Okay. Again, forgive yourself. Okay. Even if you catch yourself beating yourself up in the middle of a meditation or breathing, just center. It's okay. Just focus on that breath again, and just focus on that breath one more time, and just see how much longer you can last this time. Just center. We're going to go over a few things, but today we're going to practice using the imagination. The sweet stuff, the pollen of the flower, the really juicy bits. The imagination is an underutilized tool, and it's something that so many people have not practiced using, that a lot of people say they don't even have an inner monologue. What? Wild. And maybe they don't, but that doesn't mean you don't have creativity. It means that creativity is found in some other aspect of yourself. One person, a friend of mine from long ago, said, I don't really see it. I really feel a shape and draw that. She's a fantastic artist, and that's how she worked. Whereas I definitely had more visuals. Some people, they got to sniff their way to the peaks. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it is. It's just, who cares how you do it? We're all humans. We live in this world of variety. Variety is the spice of life. Let's have a nice, spicy, enjoyable meal of a life. Yes, let's eat up the goods. Without further ado, let's get to the poem. Imagine a place inside where rhymes will shine. All you know belongs to it. Where thoughts, dreams, poems, and melodies, all the dissonance and every harmony reside. This place has been kept with just knowledge, though we once thought to keep it like a garden. You want to blossom, to grow, to expand, but everything inside too heavy to keep at hand. Let go. Let go. Let in the fresh air. Let go. Let go. You needn't worry or overcare. It's not you. What once you called yourself is just a bunch of thoughts and things that hurt before. Nothing needs you more than ever. Sit back. Relax. Watch them carefully. When you see a weed form, don't yank it out, but imagine it transform from something thorny, heavy, strange, into light, goodness, lacking any rage. Let go. Let go. Breathe in. Breathe out. I promise you, you will outbloom doubt. Oh man, I love these things. I don't take long making these. And maybe I should actually show you guys the process. Me just sitting there breathing. What should I write about today? What should we talk about today? And I just go blah 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 blah. I love this little typewriter. I have a little dedicated typewriter to do all my writing on. That way I can just boom, focus in on that. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today is okay, we've learned to just try to breathe, and we've learned that it's a very transformative experience, that breathing and focusing on the breathing, it changes the way that you feel. It changes the way that your sensitivity acts. It becomes easier to do the things you thought were not possible. And so you're thinking, you become more aware of it. And when I started this, that was a very hard thing to do. We're kind of moving fast through all of these. I got to let you know. I I am seriously trying to catch up with myself because for the longest time I just didn't believe in myself. I just doubted everything that I was doing. Anytime that I sat down trying to talk about this stuff, I said, "Oh my God, I'm not a guru. I haven't spent that much time on it. Blah 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 blah. I didn't have enough life experience. Blah 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 blah." Do you really need to be here 100 years before you can teach anyone anything? Is that how that works? Really? You can learn something from a child. In fact, most kids today know more, faster, better, readily available information than most seniors do. We've been seeing this happen for a while now. And the 90s babies grew up realizing that. But for a good 10 years, right? From 85 through 2000, there wasn't too much access to the internet. So we had all of the things that most generations before us had: outside time, playing, not a lot of talk about the negative stuff, a lot of people trying to shush away the idea that racism still exists. We were unaware of so many problems that were being persisted by, people who just don't give a shit about each other. And now look at what happened. All of our parents are overworked like crazy, right? And if they did retire, they're struggling now. Yeah, I know it's getting a little real, but I'm not stupid and I'm not unaware of what's happening. I'm just trying to be happy. How can you be happy with all these terrible things happening? Would I rather take on an issue while I'm pissed off constantly? You know how unhealthy that is? That's exactly why I stopped doing political streams back in 2021 after January 6th. And a bunch of people started just trying to take over the world because, oh, I don't like the way that other people act or think or behave, or I don't like what they're doing in bed, and I don't like the way that they take a leak. Oh, big deal. They started trying to ransack the whole country. Why? Why? What for? What's that going to do? How are you going to do better than what's happening right now? Are you? Come on. Come on. Where are your credentials? What is it that makes people listen to each other? I'll tell you right now, it's not yelling. It's not screaming. If you praise someone who's mad all the time and who's screaming and who's yelling all the time, you're just going to get more of that. Not only that, you're going to expand that to everyone around you. I'm not all about that. No. That's why I'm telling you to just sit down, relax, and breathe. Because if you take a minute to just breathe, you're going to feel a lot better and you're going to think a lot clearer. You're going to know when to start using your mind. You're going to know how to use it best. And it's not something that only mystics or gurus or people who claim to have kind of special abilities or whatever the fuck end up saying. This is just logic. This is just reasonability. It's just the way to expand compassion and sympathy. Oh, I got my first hater today. Some random guy on Facebook was like, "Oh, this is just some BS. You just got to get up and do stuff. Quit being lazy." Lazy? How the hell do you know what I do every day? I'm definitely not lazy. It's certainly not easy, and they want to say it is, and that sounds like somebody who's just not very sensitive to the nature of the people around them. If not very sensitive to themselves, or maybe he just doesn't practice that kind of thing. Who knows? Sounds like stuff. Do I know? Am I going to start like hating on them? No. I told him, whoa, 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 breathe. Just like I'm telling everybody else. Just breathe. You know? It's quite a milestone, though. My first hater. Woohoo. and and we need to start doing it all together. We need to start telling each other to chill. And you know how I can tell? Because the news is insane. If the CEO of that submarine that got lost in the ocean had breathed a little bit longer and focused a little bit more, he would have thought a little bit clearer, and a tragedy could have been avoided. And a lot of people are cheering on that billionaires have, been lost to the ocean. I understand the sentiment. I understand what jealousy feels like. I personally could totally use more money. Of course, everybody in this country could right now. But even the people who have it, they have no idea what to do with it once they get there. And it's interesting because I've heard this story from multiple people who end up working for these people closely, and they say they just don't know what to do with it, so they end up going gambling, or they go and try and look for the Titanic in a really bad business opportunity, and uh, and then they wonder why their lives fall apart. They wonder why they're not happy. They wonder why they don't have friends. They wonder why they're not sensitive to this thing. And I've got to tell you, I'm not here to make an enemy out of any single person, not at all. If I ever get an enemy, it's a one-way thing. I'm not reciprocating that kind of energy. I do not have enemies. And I said in the first podcast or the second that I have one particular person who's just never going to see me as an equal, and I bless their decision, but I do not incorporate that energy into myself. I did for a time. I did do it during the time when I didn't take my breathing seriously, and it just wasted a bunch of energy. It just wasted a lot of time. So I stopped, and now I don't care, and it's fine. Am I hairless? No, I'm full of compassion, sympathy, love, bliss. I'm euphoric half the time now. It's crazy. I actually have to like ground myself these days. I have to go and do something to make myself feel like, okay, I can't just always be on cloud nine. People are gonna freak out around me. I can't just cry blissful tears constantly. They're gonna think I'm crazy. Well, I mean, maybe one day I can. I don't know. But I was even tired yesterday, and it was after recording the second podcast, and it was just a long day. It was hot. I had to grab some things from outside. I'd become a little dehydrated, and just forgot to drink water. And when I drank water, I got a little bit better. But a few of my grumpy thoughts and a few of my grumpy habits had come up again, and I needed to vent. There's nobody really free. A friend of mine was able to talk with me for an hour or two, and I still felt bad afterwards, and that's just because I was exhausted, you know? So if your needs aren't met, of course, you're going to be exhausted. Of course, you're not going to be able to meditate. Of course, you won't be caring about how you look to others. Your needs are not being met. Why would you care? No one else does, right? So this podcast is for all those who think nobody cares. I do. I do. And I'm telling you, please take some time to breathe. If you can. If you're hungry, ask for food. If you're tired, ask for rest. If you need something, ask with your heart, with your genuine compassion. Ask, and someone will fulfill it, hopefully. And if not, I bless your path. Good luck. I really hope you get the best you deserve. Everybody deserves food, water, and shelter. Everybody deserves compassion and understanding. But yeah, let's go back to what we're doing. What is the whole point of this? We're just trying to enhance our living. We're just trying to make life more alive. We end up finding that we're more sensitive to things after actually focusing on our breath, and after focusing even for a minute or 5, after focusing for 10, after focusing for 20. Me, I do about 21 minutes, and I do it when it feels good, when I've got the time, when people don't need me, especially if you're a parent. You're going to have to tell people, you need to give me 20 minutes. I had to tell someone, hey, you keep on yelling right in the middle of my meditation. I need just 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. Okay? and I'll put on music even, but you're being a little too much, invading my own space while they were expanding their joy. And that's important. You have to address those things. Otherwise, people are going to walk all over you. Like I said in the first podcast, this is not about dropping your brain. You're not becoming stupid. You're not dumbing yourself down. You are putting the mind at rest. You're just resting your brain for a little bit so that when you breathe, you can bring that aliveness and that sensitivity of yourself and your life up to the mind, and then the mind can kind of chill. Like I said before earlier in this podcast, in the very beginning of in the podcast, nothing has changed in my financial, in my career, in my house. Nothing has changed practically or physically. Inside, I have become more sensitive to the inner aliveness of myself, and I am raising that awareness every day that I meditate, more and more every day. And it's not boring. Eventually, you get in touch with something much bigger and brighter. You get in touch with something that's more alive than you could have ever dreamed of with your thoughts alone. You find out that you have an imagination. And I'm not talking about creating ideas, coming up with a cool idea. I'm also not talking about inspiration the way that most people talk about it. The way that most people talk about inspiration is kind of annoying to me because I have never. I know this is going to sound somewhat arrogant to some people. Please don't mistaken my certainty for arrogance. If I'm arrogant, yeah, so be it. But I never had a problem coming up with ideas. In fact, I had a problem stopping myself from coming up with ideas because I had a very big ego when I was younger. And I had a mind that was just creative. I was creating constantly. First, I wanted to become a filmmaker and a story writer. And I had screenplays that were all started. I had like 5 pages of many screenplays. The first chapter of a lot of books that I wanted to write, and I just never got them done because I didn't have the discipline, the fortitude, and the certainty and the dedication to myself. I would just swipe my hand away from them and say, "Oh, it's not good enough. I'll do something else. I'll figure something out. I'll do something better." Never realizing that it takes effort and work and dedication to a certain idea to start seeing where the real gems are in them. Because that first bit of inspiration that most people talk about doesn't really go anywhere. Just like with what I'm saying, I did. It starts up and then it kind of just flops because no one is pumping up the idea. No one is pumping up the energy for that. You have to do that. And it's not just about arts and crafts. It's not just about creating stories, entertainment, the Hollywood life or whatever you want to call it. What about being creative in your own life with your practical problems? What about being creative and I know, hey, look, I'm not talking to people who are absolutely screwed, okay? If your car explodes, there's not really a lot you can do creatively to fix that situation with the car, right? The car has exploded. It's busted, it's gone, right? But there is a need for inspiration and there's a need for imagination when a situation turns on its head. And when that happens, if you have the sensitivity of heart, you have the sensitivity of self, the sensitivity of aliveness, and you have the clarity of a good, decent breath here and there, you will make it look like you're a miracle worker. Not because you are able to put the car back together with like mental powers or anything, but because you're able to walk through that crazy situation with nothing but grace. You're able to look at a panic situation and go, okay, cool, that happened. Well, we're gonna have to figure that out, aren't we? And you keep going. For me, that was something that was really easy to do. I used to call it activating the avatar state, right? Because in that show, in The Last Airbender, when a panic situation happens, he's in the most desperate moments, right? Everything glows and he starts green, and superpowers start activating, and he just like aces everything, right? but it feels like that. It feels like you activate something within yourself. And that's what it felt like for me a lot of the time. Mostly because I had to deal with particular traumas in my past. Not a big deal. I don't want to get into all that. It's not your problem. But having had a certain background, I just had this ability to shift. I had this ability to just completely be at ease whilst people around me started to freak out or were in the middle of freaking out. And even if other people will not, and this is another reason why I'm going to continue doing this for the rest of my life, I swear. Even if other people don't take a minute to breathe, even if other people don't want to relax, if you are relaxed, if you take a minute to breathe, if you have the clarity of heart, if you are just a flower, the fragrance, the energy of that, the awareness, your awareness adds to that situation and can cleanse the whole damn thing. Oh, cleansing. Oh, his heart sensitivity. Oh, he's using magic terms. He's crazy. Yeah. There's a short. Sorry if the syntax bothers people. These are just words that feel right. But if you need me to explain it like this, when the psychology of other people, let me get really, really fucking cool. When the psychology of other people tends to get out of hand and out of whack and they become a little too real, you have to center yourself in such a way that other people realize they are not having an effect on you. And when people start fighting, throwing, and causing a tantrum in a scene, in a public display of anger and rage, your peace and absolute calm will instill in them a moment of silence that makes them go, huh, what the fuck am I doing right now? That good enough for everybody? I'm telling you, it happens. You don't even need me to explain this stuff to you. You've seen this before. I'm literally just here to remind you about all these things. That's all I'm doing, man. I'm just literally here to remind the garden of this earth that you need air. And I don't know, man, like if that's not the most hilarious thing that people need, I mean, show me what's funnier. Seriously, because to me, this all seems ridiculous that people get anything out of it. I love it, but man, I can't believe anybody needs help with this. It comes so naturally to me. Okay, now I'm being arrogant. Forgive me. So we got to practice. Yes, we want to access that imaginative self. We want to access the imagination. We want to be able to walk with grace in every situation. Just keep on breathing. Just keep on practicing, okay? Don't focus on your thoughts. Focus on the air. Put the mind at rest for a moment. You're not going to become stupid. Your brain isn't going anywhere. You're just taking a minute to breathe and feel how alive you are. And you can do this in many ways. There are so many kinds of meditations out there, and you're going to go ahead and look it up. It's fine. I said in the first podcast, don't look at meditation. You're just going to find scams. There's plenty of scams, okay? Breathe first, all right? And then start to look. And with awareness, look at what it is that they're offering you. Look at what it is that people are willing to share. Look at what it is that people are willing to say. I'm saying you can do it with just your breath. There are so many little tips and tricks about meditation. There's walking meditation, in which you walk through a stone or sand garden very, very slowly. You're just taking every single step at a time, and you're literally slowing your walk down to where you can break down the actual step itself into 3 movements, where you take the heel up, you put it down on the ground, you roll your foot forward, you feel the weight shifting, you lift up the back foot, its heel up, its toes down. Every single moment of every single step becomes a meditation. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are some people who have no idea that they're even teaching this to people in high school. What am I talking about? Let me tell you a story. So this all happened. This is all something that happens. It's still happening probably. When I was in high school between the years of 2004 and 2008, I was very avidly and passionately involved in my high school band. I played trombone, And the person who directed the band was a happy little redneck named, well, I won't mention his name, but one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life, who was just profoundly deep for all of the labels that look. That motorcycle, that guy is having a super good day, isn't he? He's breathing his ass off. Anyway, um the band director of the high school that I went to, very wise. He had his days, but very, very deep man. And I really started connecting the dots after I started taking the mystical side of meditation seriously. But this guy was teaching us how to meditate. He was telling us to breathe. And the breathing exercises that he taught us were, imagine your hand has a string connected to the very bottom of your lungs where your diaphragm is. And you just, and you hold it, and then in for 4 counts at about 60 to 80 beats a second. And we had a metronome running at the same time. That's meditating. We just did it with our eyes open. And that's still meditating. You can meditate while looking at something. You can meditate on your favorite spiritual figure. You can meditate on someone who brought you peace in the real world, in real life, in your physical life. We meditated on just the count, just breathing, which for a bunch of hormonal teenagers was really life-changing, was really good for us. And then what do you do when you're marching? You're practicing how to take a step. You're slowing down the step. You're doing a walking meditation, a marching meditation, if you will. This guy had no idea really the depth of this. And if he did, he never showed it. He was like, nope, just do it. And we just did. We didn't ask any stupid questions. We just, okay, I'm going to do it. Okay. Yep, I'm doing it now. Here we go. Because he didn't mystify it. He didn't put any hocus pocus on it or nothing like that. And here I am. I'm trying to demystify all this shit so that way it can become normal, so that way you don't overthink it, so that way you can just breathe. Just breathe. That's all I'm asking people to do, is just breathe. I'm just letting you know what's going to end up happening once you start breathing. You start becoming more sensitive to yourself. You start becoming more alive. You start actually becoming able to detect how your thoughts work, even where they come from, why you're thinking them, how you start thinking them. You start noticing the things that are pressure points in your life. And you become your own therapist at that point. Are you perfect? Do you have a PhD? No, but you have more awareness of yourself. You have more life to be aware of. How is that even possible? You're not growing in life. You're just becoming aware of how big your life, your livingness, your aliveness, the life in you is. And it's huge. It's huge. Show me anything else in the room that you're in right now. Anything that's not human, that's not a creature. Show me anything that just pumps fluids through itself with nothing starting it. Go ahead. Show me. Try to find me something. You got a motor? It's got electricity. You started in the womb, just beating that blood through you. And you continue from then until the end of a whole experience, a whole life. And people don't even need to be good to themselves. People can be terrible their entire lives, keep secrets, be malicious, literally manipulate people for their entire lives. And that life still pushes them forward. Probably not a great life. I mean, the life is great, but probably not a fun experience. You know what I mean? I just want you to have a wondrous experience. I want you to see this miracle that I'm living. I want you to share in this experience that I'm having, this joy, this bliss. I want you to see how easy it is, how much easier it can be to live your life. That's all I want for you. You're just a flower, my friend. You're just a flower. Your needs are simple as any other creature on this planet. You just happen to have a very, very interesting tool, a mechanism that wants to do so much more than just live, than just survive. It wants to be alive. It wants to express itself. And it doesn't need to be what people limit categorically into creativity. It doesn't have to be that. The category I'm in on YouTube is people and blogs. I mean, sure, that's about as broad as you can get, but I think this is more about breathing and being alive. I think there should be a whole category to life, inspiration. I think there should be. I think there should be a whole category just for that. And I think people are missing out because they want to call things something. They want to call everything a thing. This guy is a spiritual guy. This guy is a self-empowering guy. This guy is a guru. This guy is a priest. This guy is a messiah. This guy is a hippie. This guy's a no gooder. This guy's lazy. This guy's crazy. This whatever. You know, um, I think it's unnecessary. I think it's fun. I mean, you have your brain. It likes to divide things. It likes to keep things all organized. It's very useful. It's very important in a lot of things, right? But it shouldn't be the only way you think of things. It shouldn't be the only way that you experience the world. The world can be this undivided, very incredible, miraculous, fun, chaotic mess. And you don't have to become chaos in order to enjoy it. You can just watch the miracle unfold. And it just takes a little bit of breathing. I've been talking like this for about 41 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and start talking about what it means to imagine, to use your imagination in a way that expands the aliveness inside of you and that takes away those times where you feel like you can't breathe, that anxiety and that friction mentally and emotionally that tells you, nope, you've got to stop and put everything down right now. Don't even believe in yourself. And usually we start with that. I'm going to say we really do believe in ourselves quite a bit in the beginning if there is a healthy environment around. And some of us are even strong-willed and believe in ourselves anyway, even if our parents hate us and stuff like that, right? I mean, this is cool. We're cool like that. But what my parents didn't hate me, by the way. That's just a statement. But if you are taking the time to become more and more sensitive in yourself, and then you take the time to practice and you're breathing, and then you take the time every time that your mind comes back in. I think I just heard a truck fart. Anyway, anytime you take the time to focus on the breath, you realize that you're thinking, and then you realize that your mentality is layered because your thoughts are judging your thoughts. And then you go, okay, no. Wait a minute. We're not going to do that. We're going to breathe again, right? You're going to start training your mind how to react to your centering and your focusing on the breath. And then you can start doing really neat things. You can start invoking whatever words mean to you the most precious words, the sweetest words, the best poems, the greatest, messianic teachings, the most sacred scriptures, the most blessed speeches, the everything that is out there that inspires you, that fills you up with hope, with love, and with a dying eagerness to live more. A dying eagerness to live. What is that? This desperation to live more, right? Whatever it makes you feel like, I need to keep doing this. I need to keep waking up and doing and living, but I want to do it with grace and with compassion and with love. You can start to incorporate that in your meditations. You can start to incorporate bowing down to the liveliness within yourself. You can start blessing yourself. You can start saying, I am good. I am great. I am loving. I am amazing. And you can feel it without any sense of vanity or pride. You can feel it without being a dick, basically. So when you get to that, and you don't, some people, some people will think the way they want to think, right? That one hater on Facebook, he gonna think I'm lazy no matter what. That's fine. And bless him. But if you do have that in you, you will be an inspiration to the people who don't fall into their own habitual mentalities. You will be a wondrous inspiration to the people around you. You're going to make people smile when they were just having a normal day. You're going to make people feel at ease when they felt like the world was crushing them. You're going to be able to transform the rock of other people's minds whilst they're wedged in a hard place into sand, and they'll flow just like water. Would they harden? Would they get back into that rough state? It's possible. But if you inspire them enough, you can tell them these little tricks. Hey, just breathe. Just focus on your breathing. Do you pray? You don't even need to tell them to do it your way. That's something else that bothers me, is that we have this imagination, we have this creativity, we have so much that we have so many languages and so much variety in this world. When I was younger, and all the way up until today, I always loved variety. I loved that there were synagogues. I loved that there were temples. I loved the Catholic Church. I loved the Christian, the non-denominational churches. I loved all of it. I loved all of it because it was so incredible that everybody was celebrating something, that everybody was alive and they were doing it their way and they were having fun. Isn't that great? It's not great that people are having fun their way. Are we serious right now? What? Why would you want to limit fun? Come on, man. I love everything the way that people do it for themselves, especially if it enhances their liveliness and their love and their compassion and makes them imagine and be more creative constantly with everything that they're doing in their lives. I love all of that. I love all of that. And I even love atheists and Christians equally. And I should talk about that. The imagination and the mind, your body, your imagination, whilst there are many varieties of situations and circumstances, genetically, biologically, spiritually, culturally, that do paint a different picture, that make different flower petals on every stem, on every flower, on every bud, right? The different shapes of every leaf, the different stalks of every flower. They're all flowers. We're all human beings, and the necessities remain the same. The truth of the human spirit remains the same, whether you don't believe in hocus pocus or you do. And I'm calling it hocus pocus not to be rude, but because a lot of people are tending to look at that like it's fanciful myth. And I understand. I understand because I have a mind that can imagine what another person's life, what another person's experience feels like. I can be right in the shoes of someone else. People do this every day. People do it every day. They just don't want to do the little bit of focus and attention that it takes to do it for their neighbor. Who knows why? I don't. Whoa. Hold on. I lied. I do know why. Because you're not sensitive. You're not sensitive to the thing that is alive in them. You need to become sensitive, and in order to become sensitive, you need to breathe. And you need to focus on the breath only. You need to drop the mind, put it down for a minute, focus on the breath, become sensitive to the life within, and then you will begin to imagine how people feel. Most of the time, people just say, that's crazy, they're different, I don't like them. I'm afraid, I don't like that. I hate that. There's a movie, it's a bit of a culty movie. It's not super popular. Called Star Wars, where a little gremlin who is a master of the Force, the life force, a little gremlin who you would assume is just this old, annoying, stupid, funny looking creature, which was the genius of that film, says that he is a master. And a young man who is faced with quite an alarmingly large destiny is there on the quest to learn from a master of the life force. And this little gremlin is teaching him to he's telling him, okay, you're so old and you're so hard in your mind. I've got to get you to do a bunch of shit. So we're going to do handstands so that you can just shut your brain up. We're going to see if you can meditate, and we'll see if you can connect with even a rock. Okay? It's the most dead thing in the universe. We'll see if you can connect with that. It's still got life in it, but you're not sensitive to that. We're going to have you jump around in the forest and see if you can just flow. And the guy still ends up thinking a bunch of shit. He's like, but what about this? But what about that? I'm so worried. I'm so worried. I'm so worried. And Yoda's like, enough. Enough for today. Let's rest. That kid's thoughts were tiring a master out even, okay? And at the end of the whole thing, the number one lesson is that you have too much fear. You are too worried. You're too concerned. You're too afraid. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate is what leads to suffering. Not just for others, not just for what you hate. That's a Sith way of thinking. Hate leads to the turmoil of being hateful. You are the source of suffering, and the source of suffering knows not but to suffer. There you go. A little lull right there. I'm telling you with all of my heart. Just breathe. Just breathe. And in the end, the master proves that he is a master. He doesn't need to show off. He doesn't need to do anything crazy. He doesn't need to walk on water or make himself known as a master. All he needed to do was be himself. Just breathe. Just believe. And when he does finally help this stupid kid out who thinks that he's the shit and he knows more and he's lived a life, even though this guy's been around for 800 years, he just does the thing that the kid thinks is impossible. He thinks it's impossible. He's the one thinking it's impossible. He's the one setting up the limitations for his own mind because he's focusing on the fear the whole time that he's stuck. He's focusing on the stuckness and not on his breathing, not on the force within. And I'll stay nerdy if you want me to. Screw it. You want this to be a Jedi podcast? Let's go. Let's go. The kid said, I don't believe it. And the master said, that is why you failed. I don't believe you. I don't think that's true. I don't agree. I think it's this way. I think it's that way. You're thinking it, dude. You keep thinking. Put it down, please. Let go. Let go. It's not a force. It's not a push-pull. It's a life. It's alive. You are alive. Just breathe, my friend. Please just breathe. And if it sounds like I'm desperately trying to convince you, it's because I haven't seen any changes out there, my friends. It's because I am trying to get people to do the number one thing that is so important for them. I'm trying to get them to a place where they feel like a rock star without having to change anything around them. I want them to feel like they're badasses. I want you all to feel like badasses. Not like an ass, and not bad, like a bad ass. If an ass is bad at being an ass, then they end up being what? What's the opposite of an ass? An angel, a saint, a friend. So if they're bad at that, what are they good? They're a great friend. I just want to be a great friend to you, and I want you to be a great friend too. That's it. That's all it is. And all it takes is a little bit of breathing to start. And if you're advanced enough, if you actually do get to a point where you are starting to manage the thoughts and the thoughts are not very strong because your faith in those thoughts has decreased over time and your faith in the breath and your aliveness has increased, then you know you are ready to start breathing again, to start imagining again, to start using your mind perfectly. You can start to imagine. And when you imagine, You will start to imagine even the things that keep coming back. You will say, oh, look, anxiousness. And you will imagine it as nothing. It will become but air. And you will breathe it in and breathe it out, and it will no longer be there. Am I saying, oh, this is the cure to depression? This is a cure to anxiety? Oh, you can heal yourself like this. It's going to be perfect. It takes time. Let me remind you, do not beat yourself up for taking time. Do not beat yourself up. The world has already done this for you. We have already been beat up by every other force in the entire planet. And we have been forced to take a minute and just breathe. I can't say it any clearer, but I'm going to keep on trying until I start seeing the whole world out there change the way that I have. Change. It's not even change. It's just waking up. Don't call me woke, damn it. That's not what I'm saying. It's just being alive. It's just being alive. That's all it is. That's all it will ever be. That's all you need, is to just breathe. If you do this, I promise you, you'll become more aware to what is alive inside of you. You'll become more blissful. The first time I came back to this full force, it was a very particular meditation exercise. You do an you do that, sure. And you focus on the breath. I cried, but it wasn't tears of pain or agony. I cried because I was laughing too hard. I could do it now. I'm not gonna force you to look at that or listen to it. But I'm talking about divine bliss, is what some people call it. I'm talking about euphoria, but it's not the kind of euphoria that you drop from. It's not the kind of ecstasy that you see vanish. This is not happiness. I'm not promising you happiness. I'm promising you something beyond peace, something beyond laughter, but something that enables every aspect of yourself, your happiness, your bliss, your peace, your joy, your laughter, and then all the other bad things, your sorrows, your despair, your anger, your frivolity, your desperation, all of that as well. It changes, it shifts, it becomes easier to lift up. It becomes easier to manage. You can just pick it up and then you can put it right back down. Nothing becomes obsessive. And in fact, when you do get an obsessive thought again, it seems silly the next time you encounter it. You go, wow, I didn't realize how bad this was, but now I see it and I realize, and I'm going to just leave this on the ground. I'm not going to pick it up again. The other day, I like to be creative. I like making things. I make music, poetry, but I also started making mead. I don't mind a drink or two. I made some mead. I was going to bring it up to 20% alcohol. It was my third batch ever, and it was going to be awesome because the second batch came out really good. And I accidentally left my door open. I made a salad. I went upstairs, a really good salad, and then I noticed liquid on the ground. I had heard a thud earlier, but I thought, oh no, the cats are just in somebody else's room. I didn't know my door was open. And when I saw, I like saw a little bit of wet next to my chair. The rest of the chair was covering up the mess. Went down to smell see if it was this cat piss? Did they get in here and pee on the floor? I look over to the right and oh no, everything spilled. And on top of a game controller that I use all the time to hang out with friends and play video games. And it sucked. But usually I would get mad. Usually I'd oh, the damn cats did a thing, and I didn't get mad. And it reminded me of the first time that I started meditating. I took a brand new, freshly bought PlayStation 3 and I very naively put it in my luggage, check it in, and TSA said, oh, it looks like somebody tampered with your luggage. They took it. Obviously, somebody stole it at that point. It was a long time ago. I don't really care now. But when that first happened, I was very deep in meditation like I am now. And I wasn't mad. I was just like, oh, shit. all of the things that used to be heavy, that used to weigh down on you, that used to press you down into just angry little thoughts, they are just as light as air now. They're just little bubbles that rise to the surface. They pop and let out a sound, and then they're gone. And I don't need them anymore. I don't need to do anything with them anymore. You don't even need to believe, though, I promise you. I promise you. I promise you from the depths of my heart, from the depths of my being, from every fiber in me. If you don't believe in yourself, go ahead and just ask me to believe in you. I believe in you. Just imagine my voice. Put this podcast on. Put on a short. Put it on loop, whatever you need. I believe in you. I believe in you. I know. I don't even need to believe. I know you can do it. I know you can sit down and breathe. I know you have thoughts, but it's okay. I know that those thoughts are layered, but it's okay. I know you can breathe. I know you'll get better. I know you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in everyone who listens to this. I'm not doing this for me. I said it in the first podcast ever. And I'll say it again. If it was just me, I would just be breathing, and I'd be probably playing around and doing whatever I wanted, especially if I was alone on the planet, right? But I'm not. And I have a desire to express this. I have a desire to share this, a deep, deep desire. I just want to make things better for you. I can't give you money. I can't solve every problem for you. If I went over to your house and solved every problem, you'd just come up with more, I promise you. You would just come up with more. That's what happens all the time. Hell, I'm sure you pray for a bunch of things to be solved. I'm sure you've forgotten all of the things that God has answered for you, and I'm sure that you're still coming up with more problems for him to fix. That's not what's going to help me fixing a specific situation. I'm telling you. Oh, and I'm sorry. I'm forgetting about atheists. Okay, so if I went over to your place and I dealt with every psychological burden that you have, you would come up with more because your brain's very creative. It's very imaginative, but it's on autopilot. Like I said in in the second podcast episode, you're being automatic, but you need to automatically be. And it is a very automatic thing when you start to breathe and you start to focus on that breath, you start to focus on that air. It starts happening all by itself, because you realize how silly you are. Just silly. You're not terrible. It's not your fault. It's the whole world, baby. It's the whole damn world. Ain't nobody in this alone. Even I went through some shit, man. it is it is just necessary to sit down and just breathe and just focus on the breath. I promise you. I promise you. I know you can do it. I believe in you. All right. We hit an hour 2 minutes ago. I got to get off this thing. Otherwise, I'm going to be here forever. So, without further ado, my name is Mario Velez. You've just listened to the third episode of Just a Flower podcast. And I hope that you are as comfy as I am, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. If you chuckled, if you laughed, if you giggled, you've got to like and share. You've got to subscribe. You've got to collect this. You've got to spread the joy and the laughter. You've got to share the goodness, man. You've got to share the goodness. You have to become sensitive to the people around you. You have to love them. I'm telling you, because a good friend of mine, really good friend of mine, hold on, there's a truck out there that is absolutely raging with fire. Mm-hmm. He loud. He loud. It's a red light. I'm in a busy intersection corner. You could even meditate to your car engine. Can you imagine that? I've done it before. It's something interesting, I'll tell you. Oh, it's motorcycle. So, just breathe, my friend. Just breathe. My name is Mario Velez, and you are watching Just a Flower podcast. Please share this, like, subscribe, heart, whatever it is that you're doing to support. It all helps. It all builds this great thing that I'm building up for everyone here on this planet. And I hope that you take some time for yourself today and breathe. We'll do another and another. And if you have questions, if you want to hear something specific, if you want to know more about my life, whatever it is, please don't be afraid to ask. I am willing to share and answer any questions. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to breathe. Take care.